Well, every good coach is pretty much gone out of the conference now, but there are a couple of us left. Is now the perfect time for Eric Morris at Oklahoma State or Rich Rod at West Virginia to take the F over?
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your co-host. This is Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. This is Locked On West Virginia. Thank you guys for joining in on another episode where we're talking Big 12/Oklahoma State and West Virginia sports. Hope you guys are ready to jump in with us and dive into some fun topics, man. Going to be brought to you by our friends at FanDuel right now, guys. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, please visit FanDuel and place your NFL live bets all season long. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia and Locked On Oklahoma State your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day, along with the Cowboys. Cody, what's up, brother?
Another day, another nickel. We're kind of licking our wounds down in Stillwater, America right now with the news that Wendell Gregory entered the transfer portal.
Saw that. You guys had a few hit.
We have, but realistically speaking, the biggest one thus far is Wendell Gregory, right? Whenever you're talking about the former players at Oklahoma State, he was one of only 2 All-Americans that we had, and likely he's getting quarterback levels offers financially from other places, including that place we do not speak of 71 miles south of us. And I understand the justification potentially for not giving him quarterback money, but man, if all of this news is true, that Oklahoma State has donors that have been waiting on the Mike Gundy era to end because he wouldn't participate with donors, he wouldn't go to banquets, he wouldn't go to meetings, all of that stuff. If it is in fact true, we need to start seeing some of it, because it's starting to become a little bit of a concern when you see guys like Nuku Mafi, Wendell Gregory entering the portal. Most of the players thus far until yesterday, were just role players for the most part, or they would have been depth pieces for the most part. Losing Wendell is huge, and it's not very comforting, buddy.
Yeah, I can tell you from the West Virginia side of things, obviously we've gone through what you're going through, and you arrive at a point where no one player feels like the world is ending anymore. Like at least I did. I got to a point to where I started to see because at first it's like everything hurts so much. Every loss sucks. You hang on to every single one.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get to that 30,000-foot viewpoint of, okay, I'm seeing a bigger picture here. It's just like, the other day somebody was saying, well, if we hire a new offensive line coach, will we use this? Will we lose this recruit or that recruit?
Right.
And I'm like, you just got to think bigger than that right now, because if you're worried about one recruit, you're probably in the wrong mindset. So I would just encourage Oklahoma State fans. I know that losing an All-American sucks, and especially for this upcoming year.
Right.
But maybe Eric Morris and company haven't gotten the finances to the point they want to yet, and they're building it, right? And you got to build it. It's not something that happens all at once. So, eventually you'll get to a point to where you can retain those guys.
Yeah.
It's taken us about 18 months, or not even 18 months, just over a year with Rich Rod, I think, to get to a point to where everybody's aligned and we feel pretty good.
Right.
And even then, we're only in the top 4 or 5 of the Big 12. So, we feel good about it. But yeah, we're in a little bit of a better situation this year as far as that goes. But what I want to get to is this. Obviously, when you look at it, the Big 12 is going to be different in so many ways next season, Cody. You've got massive coaching turnover. You've got the rise of new young head coaches and a couple old tenured guys. And Leopold, you've got Rich Rod counts as that, in my opinion, because obviously he's Rich Rod, he's West Virginia royalty in a way. You're going to have a shift in tenure and hierarchy. Now, Kalani Sitake will be the longest tenured head coach, obviously. And there's a ton of mobility in the transfer portal. But, I mean, if you look at the coaches that are just gone, Mike Gundy, the most tenured coach in college football, or was he the most, or Whittingham?
Yeah, he was. Well, actually, Whittingham was hired like 2 months before Gundy, so it was Whittingham and then Gundy. But yeah,
so the 2 most tenured coaches in college football, a multiple national champion winning coach in Chris Kleiman, and and a Big 12 winning coach in Chris Kleiman. Kyle Whittingham, Matt Campbell, who obviously played in a couple himself and is the greatest coach in that school's history. As a matter of fact, you could say every one of those coaches are the greatest coach in school history outside of maybe Bill Snyder at K-State. So these are not just your everyday losses. It's like these are golden eras for every one of those university gone. So in one season, this is a big year for the Big 12. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this narrative yet. Maybe we're just now getting over it because it just happened.
Right.
But, you could mourn it, or somebody can step the F up and take over and make your case for Oklahoma State really quick. What do you think? Is it too early for that for them? Or do you think that this ready-made North Texas team, obviously you could get the best quarterback in one of the best 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the portal,
right,
which would be a huge step up for you guys. You've got Oklahoma State support from the fans. You've got a great stadium. You just need a great team to put in it. Right?
Yeah.
Is it do you think you can do the Indiana thing, or is it just impossible to do what Signetti's done?
I think year one, that would be a steep hill to climb, especially in this conference. Now that you have some heavy hitters like Texas Tech and BYU, and West Virginia obviously is investing a ton in football. But at the same point in time, if you look at what Eric Morris has done in his last couple stops, instantaneous turnarounds are kind of something that he can do. So I do think that if you get Drew Mestemaker, the quarterback, if you get the 1,200-yard second-team All-American rusher, Caleb Hawkins, if you can convince Rodney Fields to stay, if you can get Wyatt Young, their 1,300-yard wide receiver, if you get all of those guys, it's hard not to be confident about Oklahoma State at least being competitive. I do think that it's also fair, contingent upon how much money we actually do spend. I think that'll dictate where we are, right? Because you're hearing reports that Oklahoma State could potentially, possibly be spending in the upper 20s range or the mid 20s range, possibly. But again, you're not really seeing it with Wendell Gregory entering the transfer portal. So if you get all of those guys that I just named, you have to feel pretty confident that shooting for a 6-7 win season is applicable in this scenario. And then year two is really where I think you're going to see everything coming together for Oklahoma State. But have no doubts, offensively, we're going to be fun again. That's what Oklahoma State was for the better part of 2 decades under Mike Gundy, was an innovative offense. We were always going to put up 30, 45, 55 kind of points. We might give up 45 as well, but we would typically put ourselves in these massive shootouts, and it does appear as though that's going to happen again. Somebody in the comments mentioned, why is Skylar Cassidy coming over? Because their defense at North Texas wasn't exactly the greatest. I would just have to say faith and continuity. Not to mention the fact that whenever they arrived at North Texas, they'd won 4 games in almost 4 years. So the fact that you're seeing some of these increases in defense, North Texas finished top 10 in the country, I believe, in turnover ratios. So they're a bend but don't break defense, and they have some guys. They have Clemson transfer Sadiq Clements that played pretty well at defensive tackle. They got a kid that I coached for a few years in baseball, Braden Knox, at defensive end. I think there's a lot of talent on the North Texas roster, and we're about to find out, right? If you look at Tulane and JMU, if they get absolutely boat raced, both of them, then we might be in some troubled waters in Stillwater, Oklahoma. But if Tulane hangs tough against Ole Miss, and I do indeed believe that they will, then that does show us that these North Texas players are good enough to help Oklahoma State at least get into that 500 bowl game category year one.
As far as West Virginia goes, I think obviously, and by the way, that's a great breakdown. I think, one other thing I will say on the Wendell Gregory thing too, before we move on, is I don't think you can get both Drew Mestemaker and Wendell Gregory both in the same portal season. I mean,
that would have been ideal. That would have been the ideal
for sure. But I mean, if you had to pick one, you're picking the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
You just have to. I mean, this kid's a freshman. You got to get it. You got to bring him in.
Well, and I think we also have to take into consideration that Raj Murdy, the new GM, and Eric Morse, they've already discussed how they have cutoff lines. So let's just say the cutoff line was $1 million for Wendell Gregory. Is he worth $1 million? Absolutely. But I would imagine they probably said, we're not going to go over $1 million, right? So if OU or Bama or South Carolina, anybody else comes in and offers 1.6, 1.7, I would imagine in our eyes, we've already identified another linebacker that we could get for under $1 million that is at least comparable to Wendell Gregory, or better yet, They have a lot of faith in the young guys that didn't get a ton of playing time this year, like Ike Essenwoon, Gunnar Wilson, Carl Vion Young, that could easily slide in and replicate at least close to what Wendell was capable of. But it's the fear of the unknown, buddy. We don't know.
He's a Georgia kid too, so like he may be headed back that way as well.
Yep.
It's hard to be in Oklahoma when you're from Georgia. Not that it's hard, but I mean, going back on now that he's put himself on the map, I mean, he'd probably go to Georgia Tech, he'd go to Georgia. So we'll be interested to see where he goes. But on the West Virginia side of things, real quick, obviously, we have heard multiple different things. Obviously, we know we've got the cap money, as most Big 12 teams do, I'd imagine. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't have the cap. I think everybody's pretty much made that happen. But
I think Iowa State may not,
which is wild. Matt Campbell, what's he going to do at Penn State? Good Lord. But as far as outside the cap NIL, I think there's a lot of speculation. Is it 8? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 15 million? What we have? And we've heard numbers anywhere from 20 to 25 to 28 million this year. Would put you in Texas Tech, close to Texas Tech, what they did this year, and probably not going to be what they do next year. But at the same time, I also wonder, like, is Texas Tech going to take a step back in spending? They can't front load this year. I've wondered that. We'll see. Obviously, they got a billionaire backer. We do too, for what it's worth. But I don't know, if he's going to pour that much money into the program. Either way, Rich Rod said, "Listen, if I can get to, he said earlier, if I can get between 10 and 13, I feel like I can really compete." So that puts you at that, that 25 to 28 million range. And if West Virginia is there, we feel like we're in a good spot. They said they've already identified, from what I understand, they've already identified 12 to 15 guys. It's not, we're going to go out and look for them. Like, they already know who they're going to swing at. So they've identified 12 to 15 guys that they want to bring in impact transfers. We already know we had for a couple of weeks the top portal or the top recruiting class in the Big 12. I think it's dropped back down a second because Tech got another 5-star. But either way, if you're in the top 2 or 3 in recruiting every year in the Big 12, that's massive. You can't understate that. Recruiting is where it's at. I still do believe that to some extent. Right. And then you just have if you can be top 5 in both portal and both recruiting every year, I think you got a chance. And I think that's where West Virginia is aiming. And, in the portal, I don't know who they're going to get. I don't know what they're going to go for. Do you go with Scotty Fox moving forward? A lot of people think we should. Thought he represented himself as a true freshman pretty well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could probably make a case for one of those classic Rich Rod guys, right? There are plenty of dudes out there that can run. Do you go get because, there are a ton of dudes that don't work. I said this yesterday, actually, about Oklahoma State. Okay. I said Bo Pribula, who was at Missouri last year, probably doesn't work at Oklahoma State as well as he would at West Virginia. He's a dude that runs around like a chicken with his head cut off, and then he throws it too. But is he a kind of guy you're going to put 3, 5, or 7-step drops? Not necessarily. Right. He went 30 for 39 against Kansas. He went 27 to 30 against another team. Like, he had a couple big years. Top 15 competition, completion percentage dropped off the face of the planet. So is he a guy that West Virginia could look at? I think so, because we run that style of offense where it's run oriented and you're passing off the run. It's just totally different from what Eric Morris would do, right? So we're going to be after 2 separate style of quarterbacks. So I think West Virginia's in a spot where we could roll with Scotty and build around him, and I think we would be happy with that. But we could also go out and get a really good one. I think we're going to go get one. We just don't know whether it's going to be to compete with Scotty or it's just like, hey, Scotty, you're sitting back for another year. We don't know yet, but we're definitely interested to find out. After the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Who are some other people? You mentioned some people earlier. Who are some other guys that both teams can bring in, and what have we lost in the portal? We'll talk about that next.
The holidays have always, come up on us very unexpectedly and quickly. And if you're putting together gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy for you to get what you need fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything at home: decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every single budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Their selection is huge. Again, bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' rooms, updates. you're going to be able to find all of it in one place. It's so easy to shop with the styles that you're looking for. It helps you pick pieces that actually fit your home instead of guessing. The Wayfair items you order will instantly refresh your space without a massive project to do. No massive delivery fees, no stress. It's the best way to get your home ready for the holidays without running to a bunch of different stores. Get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all of your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way, way less. If you head on over to Wayfair.com right now and shop all things home, that is Wayfair.com, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every single style for every single home.
And of course, we wouldn't be nowhere without talking about our friends at FanDuel. And NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or a momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump right into that moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet the next touchdown scores, the next drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, you can visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long with FanDuel. The game moves fast, but so can you. It's segment 2, and I always crack at doing segment 2 with Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. This is a crossover. We thank you guys so much for joining in as we dive into some more talk about this Big 12 landscape and the changing of it. We talked about the massive coaching change, the rise of some young head coaches like an Eric Smith, Eric Morris, sorry. Yeah. Obviously Rich Rod more tenured, but still newer at West Virginia, year 2 coming back. It's going to be interesting to see with the NIL and portal driven environment we live in today. Like, this is a wild west, right? And people are shooting their shots with literally everybody. I'm curious, Oklahoma State, you mentioned Wendell Gregory, you lost some other guys, have you lost any other major pieces that you can remember, and obviously you mentioned a couple guys from North Texas as well that you'd like to get. Any other guys out there?
Well, I mean, I think collectively it's more about trying to keep the guys on the roster that can be instantaneously beneficial alongside getting a bunch of these North Texas dudes. Now, I was told yesterday that for the next 2 weeks, we are 100% focusing on the portal. We're not really going to do a lot of the high school stuff, which is exactly opposite of what West Virginia's been doing, which is actually kind of ironic, right? There's different ways to skin a cat, as they say. Yeah, we would like to get Drew Mestemaker, right? That's kind of where everything's revolving around. Caleb Hawkins, getting him back home. But the biggest one might be trying to convince Coach Patrick Cobbs to come on to Stillwater, Oklahoma, because you've noticed most of the staff has announced in the last 4 or 5 days that they are joining Eric Morris, but we haven't heard.
He must be fielding some offers, huh?
Oh yeah, Patrick Cobbs, yeah, he's a bad dude, and he's a North Texas alum, so there's no doubt that he would probably like the head coach in waiting title alongside Neil Brown to take over at some point in time. He spent almost a decade in the NFL, so he understands the lay of the land. He knows how to teach the position, and he's got Caleb Hawkins. But here's the caveat. Caleb Hawkins is from Shawnee, Oklahoma. The new offensive lineman we just got from Shawnee, Oklahoma. And Patrick Cobbs is also from, you guessed it, Shawnee, Oklahoma. So that hometown feel, that hometown recruiting is probably something that we're trying to identify. And as it pertains to some of the transfer guys, I mentioned Wendell Gregory, I mentioned Nuku Mafi. I feel like the ship's probably already sailed on Nuku Mafi, on Wendell Gregory. I would imagine these SEC schools are probably offering him quarterback money. But Nuku Mafi is a different story. He's a freshman that started at tackle. He got switched to the other tackle spot, performed very, very well. The offensive line got significantly better as the season progressed. So you'd like to see Grant Segrin, another offensive lineman that recently entered the portal. You'd love to re-recruit those guys. You'd also love to re-recruit Eric Fletcher, a cornerback alongside LaDainian Fields that made a massive impact the last 4 or 5 games of the season. But outside of that, man, it does feel like it's just pretty simplistic. Keep the best players in Stillwater, get the best players from North Texas, and grab a few transfers that instantly can slide in and I think we're fine. I do think that we need to invest heavily in the offensive line because Drew Mestemaker in that Tulane game, that O-line was quite a bit exposed. And right now, Oklahoma State's defensive line is not as good as Tulane's. So, as everybody in the country knows, if you fix those two areas of operation and you have a competent quarterback, you're probably going to be fine.
And that's true, right? Obviously, as you guys have seen multiple times in the past in Stillwater, a quarterback can do just about – it can make up for a lot. And hopefully you guys realize for sure that, I think Mestemaker is going to be a player and obviously potentially an elite player really quickly in the Big 12 if he comes to Oklahoma State. Is he fielding any other offers or is it basically between now that Indiana has fallen off and some other teams with him, is he pretty much Stillwater bound? I mean, or is there still some worry out there?
No, it does feel like that he's 90% Stillwater bound, but the price tag, according to some sources from Indiana, did get up to $3.5 million. And dude, I'll tell you, there was never a day that I thought Oklahoma State, even if we injected $30 million, I did not think that we'd be tiptoeing into paying over $3 million for a quarterback. But it does appear as though that is the price tag. But it also does appear as though that Oklahoma State is capable and willing to spend up to $3 million to keep him, which is, again, why it's a little perplexing if you're going to let Wendell Gregory go out the door, because the number one linebacker in the country right now is Arvell Reese, right? He's projected as a top 3 pick at Ohio State. They don't have his NIL officially classified, but I did a comparison. Their top defensive end, Caleb Downs, is getting $2.4 million a year, which means Wendell Gregory is probably getting close to that $2 million offer elsewhere. But that's the thing, man. If Texas Tech is going to set the model, and you mentioned it earlier, I think that if you inject one massive amount, you can coast, because I don't think Texas is going to spend $28 million this year, and they don't have to either. They gained a ton of cachet, so now they could probably spend 19 and replicate the same product, because now 5-star All-Americans actually will want to come visit Texas Tech. They want to be a part of what's happening in Lubbock. And I think that's the model that everybody's trying to follow at the moment, including Oklahoma State, including West Virginia, because I agree. I don't think that there's a way that you do this continuously, right? So say all of us in the league take a $30 million swing. If it doesn't work, I don't think you can do it again, right? And it's same with Texas Tech. If they just spent almost $30 million and had a 6-6 season, I don't think that Cody Campbell and the crew would be lining up to spend $30 million again.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And I know I do a lot of talking, but real quick, I think the segue naturally is ironic. You mentioned Mizzou, Bo Perbula. Did you see Drinkowitz talk about tampering?
Oh, yeah. I did a show on it last night.
Talk about the rich getting richer. I know with 100% certainty, because it was players that I have weekly communications with, Mizzou was tampering with Oklahoma State players last year while the season was still progressing. So I do find it very ironic that Mizzou's talking about this tampering stuff. I'll tell you this. I hope Oklahoma State under Eric Morris and Raj Murdy, I hope we get way, way better at tampering, because everybody's doing it. It's ironic that you have some of the biggest tamperers talking about tampering. It's a wild time, man. So I don't even necessarily think it matters what the transfer portal targets are. I think it's a matter of, did you get to them soon enough? Did you
got to get to them soon enough? Period. Point blank.
And
it's just like recruiting now.
Themselves on trying to do things the right way. Remember the NCAA deal where we turned ourselves in for a $300 infraction, and then we got banned from the postseason in basketball over it. Oklahoma State has been. I'm getting frustrated. Oklahoma State has gotten their own daggone way with cooperating with the NCAA for years and years and years. I'm so tired of it. I'm not saying that we should do things nefariously, but everybody is tampering. We're losing a good portion of our roster because these guys have already been reached out to weeks and weeks and weeks ago. We need to be better at tampering. I'll just say it.
Wet blanket, not exactly sure what you mean there. Everyone spends $21 million on rev share, then more in NIL. It's not necessarily true when you consider the other sports. The breakdown is around $12 million for football for most schools, 12.5. Some say 13, but it's in that range.
Yeah.
So just consider that. You're gonna have to remove probably right around 10 from that figure. So not everybody's spending $21 million necessarily. But
Well, hey, Paul, since I went on that long soliloquy,
yeah.
what are your portal targets that you're looking at to get into Morgantown?
Yeah, as far as specific targets go, there are a couple that I know about that I can't speak about publicly, but as far as I can break it down for you as to what we need for sure. Obviously Bo Perbila I mentioned is one, but you start with the offensive line in West Virginia. I went on a tirade over the last week talking about how we're going to fire. It's not if we fire, it's when we fire Jack McNeil. Some fans don't like to hear me say that, but we will have a new offensive line coach next year. I've talked to too many people, that also agree with that. It's not a secret. So we'll have a new O-line coach next year, and potentially it'll be Rick Trickett, who is one of the greatest offensive line coaches in the sport, who has been Rich Rod's right-hand man for years. Coming back, even though he's 78, he's still a very lean and spry 78. We'll see if it happens. Either way, so we start off up front with the O-line. Obviously we think we at least have 2 contributors that can come back and play well. So we're going to need to go out to getting 3 elite guys. And I think they're going to go out and swing for 3 elite guys. I really do believe that. I was told by one person, they're ready to spend a lot. So they saw what the quote to me was, they saw what Texas Tech was able to do, and they want to be in that ballpark. So I don't know if they can do what Texas Tech did, but on the offensive and defensive line, West Virginia wants to replicate what Texas Tech did to an extent. Elite offensive line, very good defensive line, and build it out from there. West Virginia is always going to attract skill talent through recruiting. So you're going to try to build it that way and just get older through that. And you've got a couple guys coming back next year. I think you can probably go with maybe get 1 skill guy, but I think you can go without it if you had to. And then obviously West Virginia is going to go out and get a running back. You're going to get an elite running back. Okay. We did that in recruiting. We got a true freshman coming in. I'm a huge I just had him on my show. So Amari Latimer, obviously we somehow we got him over Ohio State and Georgia and Miami. And, it was one of the biggest flips on signing day in the history of our school. Like, it was a big deal for us, and really excited about him. And he's got, a bunch of connections. His brother plays for Wisconsin. He just went in the portal. Jameer Latimer, who is one of the starting corner for Wisconsin. So obviously that's a known portal target potentially for West Virginia. And then you build it out from there. So that's at least 2, potentially 3 elite all linemen, and they may get more. You're probably going to want a quarterback to battle Scotty. You're going to want a running back for sure, even though Amari Latimer's really good. You're going to want an older guy in the room if Ty Edwards doesn't come back. And then for Zach Alley's defense to be what it is, you have to have elite linebackers and lengthy corners. So 12 to 15 guys, right? So like I said, 2 or 3 O linemen. You're probably going to get 1 skill guy, quarterback to battle Scotty, maybe a running back to pair with Amari. Obviously, you're going to have to get better on the defensive line, basically every position, right? But I mean, there are levels to it. Like, how heavily are you going to invest in this position or that position? I don't know. I know the O-line and D-line are going to be heavily invested in, and I know linebacker is going to be heavily invested in. So we'll see. There are a lot of targets out there that fit those bills, but West Virginia certainly, and 1,000%. It's funny. There was a quote that came out from one of our websites that it came from another recruiting service that said, and this is just what they said, Rich Rod's got his he's got his wiener swinging basically with as much money as he has to throw around in recruiting right now. So
you should have saved that for a Rougiet ad, bro. What do you missed?
Speaking of, we're probably a little bit past due for the next ad. We'll be right back.
We do have to get to segment 3, get to an ad real quick, but I do want to ask, what is the state of your D-line? Were you overloaded with a bunch of upperclassmen? Have you had some of those guys enter the portal? Because at times during the season, you had one of the best D-lines in the Big 12, and it wasn't even close. And then it was kind of hit and miss, right? So do you have a bunch of seniors? Do you have a bunch of transfers? What's the deal with your D-line?
No, we had just a really deep D-line room. We had you could rotate 7 or 8 guys in. Obviously Eddie Kelly Jr. was one of those guys. Hammer Russell was one of those guys. Unfortunately, we got hurt towards the end of the year up front there, and that really played a huge factor into especially Hammer Russell going down. We do have some younger guys that'll be back next year, a couple, but for the most part, we're going to have to, we went through JUCO. We got a couple really good JUCO defensive linemen this past cycle. Jalen Thomas is 6'3", 310-pound nose tackle who was ranked a top 5 JUCO D lineman. Every single player we got in JUCO was rated in the top 10 of all of JUCO at their position.
All right.
We went out and got the very best in JUCO, and JUCO guys at times can be plug and play guys. Not always,
right?
But for the most part, because especially if you go after guys in the Jayhawk Conference, which, as you know, living near Kansas, is the best JUCO conference in America. It's what they call the SEC of JUCO. So we went to Hutchinson Community College. We got 3 of their best players. They played in the JUCO National Championship game. So, or 4 of their best players, actually. Our D-line was pretty good. It was just there wasn't any explosive pass rushers on it.
Okay.
It was more of a run-stopping defensive line, you know what I mean? So, and they still got trounced by Utah, you know what I mean? But their O-line was really good. Go to break, guys. We'll come back and put a bow on this. Let's gripe about basketball for a minute after the break.
Let's do it.
Guys, when it comes to Rocket Money, I didn't know if you knew, but me and Cody know, if you ever feel like your money just disappears each month, it happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track down every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. But Rocket Money does find subscriptions you forgot, which I am so guilty for. I really am. I paid for 3 or 4 a month and I don't mean to. And look, it helps you clean them up quickly, so you can see all your spending on one dashboard, which makes it easier to understand where your money is going. And I like how Rocket Money automatically builds budget based on past spending. It keeps track without you overthinking it. So take control of your finances today with Rocket Money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. I'm going back to Cali. All right, so back here with Cody Stovall, Locked on Oklahoma State, Locked on West Virginia crossover. Thank you for joining in, guys. We're going to go a little over on this one. That's okay. It's a special occasion. Cody and I, we only get on like once a month or so now anymore. So obviously you guys started out 10-0, right? And it was a great start, and then Bedlam happened. How have the Cowboys bounced back from Bedlam?
Not great. I mean, we did win a game last night without our 2 top bigs. So we're missing both Lefteris Montezukis and Parsafala. And that proved to be the difference for Oklahoma State. Yes, we won the game, but it was against Missouri, Kansas City, so we should have won the game. They're 2-10. We were 10-1, so it shouldn't even have been close. But we did get a dub. We do have some excellent scorers in Anthony Roy, Victorious Miller. We've got some great facilitators. Kanye Clary is a drive and dish guy. Jalen Curry is more of like a get to the rim and score buckets on fast breaks kind of guy. But without Parsafala, you're starting to see some chinks in the Oklahoma State armor, because we're not a great defensive team. We are a great offensive team, which is kind of ironic because it's the exact opposite of last year. Last year we had a bunch of athletes that could step up and play defense at times, but we couldn't score to save our lives. This is a much better team. We're a much deeper team. But OU really exposed the fact that if you don't have big man Parsafala on the floor, it changes the complexity of what you can do offensively. So I think this season is going to be insanely successful as long as our big guys stay healthy. And it's been a crapshoot so far. Thankfully, we did get a freshman, a very heralded freshman that decommitted from Miami, had a surgery in the offseason. He finally got his first minutes ever last night, Ben Ahmed, and he performed pretty admirably for a true freshman in his first game ever. I think we have the depth to make this thing interesting. I think we should finish top 6 or so in the Big 12 this year, which is easily a ticket punched to the tournament.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, man, we have been right on the cusp of the breakthrough, but we just can't break through. You know, we were up 12 on Clemson in a game that we lost. at the very end with the last 6 minutes of the game. We completely fell apart. We were up 16 points on Ohio State with 22 possessions left in the game. 14 of the last 22 possessions were totally empty. We either 9 were a turnover, 3 or 4 were bad shots, and Ohio State wins this game in double overtime by 1 point. Totally crushing loss for West Virginia. Honor Hupp has been as advertised this year. He leads all of college basketball in 3 points made again, second year in a row. He's the best shooter I've ever seen outside of maybe Steph Curry. Like, he's that good. There are other guys there are other guys who've been better than him. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, he's elite, and he shoots it around somehow close to 40%, and is making right around 5 a game right now, which is just crazy. But I mean, sometimes we just get too overly reliant on him. Okay. If he's not scoring it, we can get in some trouble. Our guy that we brought in, Trayson Eaglestaff, he scored 20 points a game last year at North Dakota. He's undergoing, he put up 41 against Alabama. He put up 51 against South Dakota State, scored 2 points in that game. And he's open, and this is public knowledge. He needs to see a sports psychologist. Like, he's openly said, like, he even openly said, like, I need to stop listening to what people say. It's messing with me. I've never seen somebody break down like this in real time. Like, I feel like even talking about it makes it worse. I'm afraid he's watching, but because I hate to see it, truthfully. Like, I had his coach on in the offseason and had a great conversation with him about how great a kid he is. But he's totally been a bust. And it's unfortunate, man. I really hate it. But this is a guy that you brought in that scored 20 points a game last year. And it was in North Dakota, and you have to say that. This is a Big 12. But we're talking about even against, the Catamounts of Mount St. Mary's or whoever. Like, he was struggling against those teams too. He's just so, I'll just give you one quick example. One shot I saw a couple games ago, he just caught it and shot it and made it. And then the very next play, Ross Hodge decided to run a play for him. He held up 2 fingers, number 2. Ran him off a couple screens. He came off the screen. And he staggered. He got into his pivot foot, rose up, and was totally free. Nobody around him, and then threw the ball out of bounds. Just doesn't have the confidence to pull the trigger. West Virginia basketball is struggling right now. We're 8-4. And we have no good conference wins or out of conference wins.
Okay.
Xavier made 16 threes against us. I don't know how that happened. And so we've struggled, man. To beat teams that we should beat. You beat the Clemson, you win against Clemson, you win against Ohio State. You're 10-2. You feel 1,000 times better about the year right now. If we go into conference play, we've got one more out of conference game we'll definitely win against like a 1 or 2 win team Monday. But outside of that, man, we got a lot to prove. We're going to have to win 10 games in conference at least. And I don't believe we can do it.
Well, at least we can know this for sure. And Wet Blanket just nailed it down there. The Big 12 basketball gauntlet, I think, is going to be way, way more intense than even the football season has been the last 2 years in a row. Right? Last year, the SEC kind of grabbed the headlines and got 13 teams in the NCAA tournament. Statistically, they did not do very well. They weren't even close to the Big 12, statistically speaking, but Florida did win the Natty, right? So they have that little bit of a bragging right. But yeah, I think Oklahoma State is insanely improved. BYU is better. West Virginia has the capability to get hot and make things difficult. You're still going to be trying to chase down Houston. Texas Tech is ranked for a reason. KU is still KU. I think this is going to be the most intense Big 12 conference basketball slate we've seen in quite some time. And it's nice that my Cowboys are at least going to be somewhat in the mix.
Guys, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Oklahoma State and Locked On West Virginia. We're way over here. But we do appreciate you guys for joining in with us. It was fun. Obviously.
I also do love that Steve Lutz is already bringing in a top 10 recruiting class in his first.
That helps. Yeah, that was a great hire from you guys.
Yeah.
Was he at Western Kentucky?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great hire for you guys. Yeah, I love his offense. So you guys are killing it. Glad, grateful, happy for you. Good Big 12 is good for West Virginia. So we'll continue to monitor that. Hopefully West Virginia can get things turned around. 8-4 isn't death nail into the world, but you
No.
got to make some noise. So we'll see what happens. I mean, anything can happen, but we'll see. There are some other factors with West Virginia, but we'll get into that another time. Thanks for joining, guys. Oh, by the way, we can't let you get out of here without telling you about our Everydayer Club. Right now, guys, with the Everydayer Club, and Cody, I don't know if you guys have on his side of things have talked about this yet, but it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. It's lockedonpodcasts.com with an S, lockedonpodcasts with an S.com/Everydayer Club. And I'll put that link in the chat for you guys. If you want, ad-free audio and all that kind of stuff, it's a really good thing. Come check it out. It's just yet another thing for us to monitor. We're excited to do it and all that. So subscribe, the whole thing, guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
I call my everydayers regulators. So it's time to mount up and go regulate, fellas.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then to end this one, we'll just say regulators, mount up.
Atta babe.